A teenage boy has died of his injuries after Bahraini police opened fire with tear gas at a demonstration outside the capital, Manama. The death comes only days after the UN human rights chief criticized Bahrain's treatment of pro-democracy protesters. Charles Stratford reports, and a warning: viewers may find some of the pictures distressing.
Ali Jawad was 14 years old. Bahraini police shot him in the head with a tear gas canister during a protest in the village of Sitra, just outside the capital, Manama.
We had just finished Eid prayer, congratulating each other, when the police force came and shot with rubber bullets. People were injured and my son was taken to the hospital. When they attacked us at the hospital, they took my son by force. They said if anyone talked, they would shoot him. We are losing our children and we cannot do anything.
The Bahraini security services, backed up by a Saudi-led Gulf force, began their crackdown on Shia-led pro-democracy protests in March. 6 months later, the UN's human rights chief says the situation in Bahrain remains tense and unpredictable. And pictures like these are proof of that. Protests continue on an almost daily basis in Shia areas of Bahrain. They're usually met with brutal force by the police. Very little gets reported, since the authorities have banned most international media from entering the country. Last week, Bahrain's king said he would dismiss charges against some of the detained pro-democracy protesters, but hundreds remain in jail. The UN's human rights chief has demanded a trial of civilians in military courts stop, describing them as bearing the marks of political persecution. There have been widespread claims of torture, and the king set up what he describes as an independent human rights commission to investigate these claims. The panel has so far interviewed more than 5,200 witnesses, but many in the opposition say most victims are too afraid to come forward. In his speech, the king said, "There are those who were arrested, and investigations prove that they were victims of individual behaviour and were ill-treated in custody. This is not tolerated by God, and we do not condone it." In July, the main opposition group walked out of so-called national dialogue talks, complaining that the vast majority of groups participating were in support of the government. The protests may now have shrunk in size, but the demands from Bahrain's Shia majority for greater political and economic rights remain ignored. This young boy is now what the opposition call the latest martyr for their cause. Charles Stratford, Al Jazeera.